Hi kids, Mr. Galvan again. We are entering now the final plots of Bandit's Moon. Today we're doing chapter 16. Let's read. A pinch of gold. I took off my shoes and ran all the way back to Drizzly Gulch. I ducked behind some tall weeds when I saw the street full of men yelling outside the jail, and more were coming. Let's see what he looks like. Hang him! Did he shoot the sheriff? Not a shot fired. And there came the sheriff out on the porch. Don't stand around here, boys. There ain't going to be a mob hanging. The reward spoke for, so get. No one made a move to leave, and more men were drawn to the excitement. Someone yelled out, the reward says for the head of Joaquin. It doesn't say you've got to turn him in alive and kicking. Read the poster for yourself, Sheriff. No reason we can't hang him. Archie's right. Another man in a big yellow hat. Hold on. Has he ever been tried in a court of law? I think not. We'll hold court right here. My heart was stuck in my throat. These men were looking for excitement, and their mood was getting meaner and uglier. They would end up dragging him out of the sheriff's office and over to a tree. There was an old glass jar at my feet. I emptied Joaquin's pouch of gold dust into it and jumped up and rushed out into the street. Sirs, where's the assay's office? Where's the bank? Look at this. Have you ever seen prettier color? I took a pinch of gold and tossed it in the air as if I'd lost my wits. Heaps more where that came from. You get that round here? Asked the man in a green vest. Not far, I said. Other miners lifted their noses as if they could smell the gold. They left the mob in ones and twos and came over to gaze into the golden jar. Don't it look pure? Kinda lumpy, too. A wrinkled man gave a little giggle. I don't suppose you'd care to tell us where you made your strike, little girl. He took me for a bona fide idiot. It's a secret, I said, and then I gave a little dance and tossed another pinch of gold dust in the air. But my arms about worn off digging, and if you'll promise to cut me in partners 50-50, I'll tell you where to dig. By then, about everybody was gathering around me. Gold fever swamped the hanging fever. To a man, they shouted promises to go partners with me. So I told them to follow Poverty Creek to some tall locust trees, one in particular with an X carved in the box. That's where I hit it lucky, I added. That was true. The gold dust didn't take a minute to clear the street. Horses rattled out of town as if the ground were afire. The sheriff found himself alone on the porch, a rifle across his arms, and he was looking at me. What are you up to, Missy? I figured you were going to need some help. Did you have to shoot Joaquin? Is he bleeding? Not a drop. He came peaceful as a lamb. I don't believe it, I said. He was reading a newspaper when he lowered it. There was my army colt in his face. It took the fight right out of him. I think he'd rather admired my skill. What about the boy? He lit out. I want to see Joaquin, I said. Get his horse, I'll bring him out. When I returned, the sheriff was walking Joaquin through the door. He had tied the bandit's arm to his side with so many turns of the rope that Joaquin looked as if he were inside of Joaquin. Sir, I said. Senor? Joaquin refused to look at me. The sheriff had to help him into the saddle. I hurried around the horse to reach Joaquin's other side. Maybe he scorned me, but he knew exactly where I was. He gave the horse a sudden jab of spurs. The horse kicked at me, knocking me down. I got right up. I was sobbing. Senor Murrieta, I am so sorry. The newspaper said you killed my brother Lank. Of course I turned you in. I was after revenge, the same as you. I hated you the way you hate Mr. Calico. You'd think he wasn't hearing a word I was saying. Let's go, Sheriff. In Bedbug, I discovered that my brother is still alive. You didn't kill him on the Mariposa Road. The newspaper got the facts wrong. I can't expect you to forgive me, but please, please, sir, understand. I could see that Joaquin, now bareheaded, was simmering with rage. I had not proved to be a Yankee friend. I had proved to be a Yankee enemy. His dark eyes remained fixed on the road ahead. A buggy raising dust came racing toward us. Said Sheriff Elwood Flint, "Don't be too hard on the girl, Joaquin. She saved your mangy neck from the lynch mob. You saw that, didn't you? I couldn't have held them off much longer." The sheriff mounted his horse beside his prisoner and took the halter of Joaquin's silken black horse. They had hardly taken a step when the buggy pulled off. I heard the sheriff give a shout. Oh, Mary! I'll arrest you on that old warrant soon as I got time." Oh, Mary. I twisted my head, and there she was, driving the buggy. The sight of her in her old feather hat was a terrible shock and interrupted my sobbing. Beside her, now rising from the seat with the rifle taking aim in his hand, was a thick-necked man with hair red as bonfire. That was the way Joaquin had described Billy Calico. "Joaquin," he shouted, "I won't be hunted any longer." He fired the rifle. I saw Joaquin flinch. The sheriff pulled up his coat army pistol and shot Billy Calico dead. "Meddling fool," exclaimed Joaquin, turning a sizzling gaze on the sheriff. "You have cheated me out of my revenge." "Thank you kindly for your words of gratitude," said the sheriff. "I see you're hit." Oh, Mary lifted her buggy whip and burst out of there before the sheriff could find time to arrest her. But she did throw me a look as prickly as cactus. She must have seen me in Bedbug and hoped I'd lead them to Joaquin. It made me feel miserable that I had done exactly that. I saw that Joaquin's coat at the shoulder was torn open and looked as if a small bird nest had sprung up. It was turning red. "Es destino, it's nothing," said Joaquin. "Death takes little bites out of me, eh? What does it matter whether the law hangs me with a small wound or not?" "It matters to me," I said. I ripped off a piece of my gingham dress and climbed up on the rump of the horse and tried to dab at the wound. He flinched. "You're making it worse, Yankee." "Hold still," I said firmly. "Sheriff, I can't get at this wound with all these ropes in the way." The sheriff coughed out a little. "You ain't getting me to untie him so he can get away, missy." And that's the end of chapter 16.